Hi, I don't know whom I'm addressing to at this point. I'm not getting much response at all from MSD. The regional director of MSD, and that region being Canterbury, Angela Talbot, had sent me a letter through her EA, Sheldon Geary, telling me that I may not communicate with any staff apart from my case manager, and with my case manager only over email. Now that is thoroughly illegal, and breaks many crimes, sections of the Crimes Act. Now, unfortunately, MSD staff beneath her seem to think that regional directors of government ministries, that's a ministry, not Windsor's a department under MSD, but she's the regional director of a ministry, a government ministry, and she doesn't understand the basics of her job or her responsibilities or the rights of the people that she serves. And MSD, social development, that's a level above where she's dealing with the most vulnerable people, and she is abusing us criminally. So nobody else seems to know that there are laws and that regional directors of government ministries are not regional directors of private business. And even private businesses cannot make up their own laws if they contravene basic human rights. Now, because of Angela Talbot and the lack of knowledge of everyone beneath her, nobody will bloody respond to me. Now, each of those people, when they treat me in a way that Angela Talbot has instructed them to treat me, they are, if those are criminal breaches, they are still individually responsible for those breaches, because a criminal, they cannot blame their job description, because their job description cannot possibly involve criminal acts against individual parties, especially not very vulnerable ones. So I record my conversations with Robin because they're the only way that I can, and I've made it very clear to Robin that I'm recording all the calls, and I often forward them to her and her manager. And I just want to play this one to you. I don't know where this is going. I think it's going to have to go. I'm so busy. What I was going to do is I was going to go to either the minister or try my local MP, but I don't even know who my local MP is. I'm not. Not only have I not been in Christchurch for 2 years yet, I have been ping-ponged around Christchurch, being mostly homeless. So I don't even know which directorate, not directorate, but which anyway, you know what I mean. Like, I don't even know what to do, and I don't have time to make complaints. It's just like piling on top and top and top and top. It's complaints about complaints about complaints. I just want my rights, and making a complaint is not a very nice right to have when it involves more work for me. Now, I've already told Robin, it is ridiculous to say that the housing providers are not contracted to MSD. It's on the MSD website. It's her job to know as an ISCM. And she's had Shamila Grant on me, who is not, I thought she was the manager of integrated services. She's not she's the manager of housing, regional manager of housing. She's not my, I don't answer to her. And then Cara Walter, likewise, I don't answer to Cara Walter. And Cara Walter escalated me to Angela Talbot, who, one, either knows nothing about my situation or is playing dumb, and two, has no awareness of her job or any willingness to do it in good faith. And so I'm going to play my phone calls with Robin, and I'm going to send this somewhere where I don't know, info at MSD has not responded to me, and that's the complaints conduit. I might go through a more formal process, but this might have to go to someone external to MSD because MSD does not appear to want to obey the law. So here's my conversation with Robin. Now, there are two parts of the conversation, and then I left a voice message for her because she hung up on me. And I had to wrap up what I was saying to her. Okay. So the first one is 36, the first recording is 36 minutes, and that's us talking. And that's over 2 phones because we switched phones, but I kept recording. And the second one is just between 2.5 and 3 minutes, and that was just my quick voicemail to follow up with her. Okay, so this will be a while, but this is what you need to hear because I'm forbidden. Robin will not reply to me over email. She never has, even before Angela Talbot, put the kibosh on all of my legal rights. So this is the form that it comes in. I'm afraid I can't make a verbal complaint about something that, a written complaint. I'm not transcribing this. It's not my job. Hello, it's Caitlin. I assume that's Robin. Hi, I'm okay. I'm pretty tired. I did send an email just asking if you can. I know it's a bit complicated, and Tara on the 0800 number was doing her best to sort of translate. But what I was saying to her was that, and I don't want to make things difficult for you, but my phone. Like phones die slow deaths, so I think that it's not every time that it doesn't ring, it's just sometimes it's not only that it doesn't ring, it doesn't even show that I've got a missed call until later on, which is really scary because it means that I don't know whom I'm not hearing from, and then when I look back at my call logs, when I see missed calls, I don't think anything of it because, people don't always answer their phones. Sometimes then, it wouldn't trigger a thought in me thinking, oh, that must have been a time when my phone was ringing and I had no idea. So it was only several hours later that I even saw I had missed calls. So I really do apologise for suggesting that you had forgotten. I was sitting there waiting and it was so weird. So I just thought, I checked with Liu and because I thought, well, this is a reliable backup, but it would be better if you tried my cell phone first, just because I'm sitting in quite an awkward position where the phone is on the wall. It's like... What's that, sorry? Yeah, I'm in room 3. Yeah. 3, yeah. And so my phone, you probably are using one at work, although they're more electronic these days, aren't they? You have a headset and stuff. But landline, I remember this being a bit horrible memories as a teenager having a long conversation while stuck in one inconvenient spot. But that's okay. Do you think you would mind calling me back on my cell phone just to see if... Is that all right? It's just a bit more comfortable for me. I don't want to make it difficult for you, but I just thought I sort of came back to Batera because I had accidentally cut her off while she was away just doing some, I think, emailing you, and I accidentally cut her off while I was waiting, and then she came back and rang, and I thought, oh, okay, well, it's not out of the question that I Would you mind? Okay. Thank you. I'm also going to make this part of my police complaint about the general, it's a big clusterfuck. Hello, Robin. Yes.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi. I had made sure that I'm actually in the call app, so it's like you are not getting away from me this time. Phone call.
Okay.
Yeah.
How modern is your phone that you've got? Like, is it worth being it can be repaired or?
Okay. So my phone, I have two phones, and one was new on my 40th birthday. So that was a special birthday present for me because I know only how to use iPhones, and it was an iPhone 6, and so it is now nearly 7 years old, and that is very elderly for a cell phone. And then I bought another one, which is my main phone, because the six is just basically a sort of an unreliable little hand computer. And then I've got an 8 that I got second hand through a refurbished dealership, which is the only way I can afford cell phones. Usually second hand, and second hand they don't tend to be more expensive overall than an Android. If they're iPhones.
So are you using the 8? Are you then? Or?
Yeah, but the thing is that I often alternate between them because they're both, the 8 itself is becoming obsolete, and that's the one. So every now and then I've texted you or called you on a different number, and that's the 6. And it's only because they're both failing, and one fails, they fail at different times, so I have to sort of have a backup. But sometimes they're both not working. So what I'm looking at two things. One, there is I discovered this because I'm trying to get a new laptop to them. They're refurbishing laptops, and one of these it's not them who's doing it, but they're called Tech somebody, and they're a community tech computer sort of help assistance, and they do outreach as well. And so I'm thinking maybe I'll see if one of them can, because they're quite happy to come to people, and technically I do have mobility issues. They're not limb problems, but it's a systemic fatigue where traipsing over town, even walking and back and forth from the bus is extremely tiring for me. So it's really nice they do outreach, and they'll come over and they'll look at your tech. And because my laptop, sorry, I don't mean to ramble, but because my laptop is actually no longer a laptop, it's a desktop, because I had a Geeks on Wheels tech come over and remove the battery, which had died, and just plugged it directly into the mains. So I can't. It's not highly mobile. It's not a laptop in that sense anymore. And I thought if these guys can come over and just have a look at everything and just assess it and see if there's something that can be repaired. But I think at this stage, the key indication that a phone is obsolete is when Apple stops providing support, i.e. updates and that kind of thing for it, and stops providing parts. Because once you can't get parts, there's not much you can do. I mean, sometimes you can't give in a screen replacement, if you get a cracked screen. So I think at this stage, any sane person would get a new phone. And for me, it would be about getting a refurbished one, and I'd want to go somewhere reputable, because the 6 that I bought was not from a licensed Apple reseller, and they said it was completely refurbished, but it wasn't. And you pay a bit more for an Apple licensed reseller, but it means that you've got full financial recourse if something goes wrong, and then you can have a payment plan, and I could say pay what I imagine to be something like $30 a week until I pay it off. And I think that's a much better solution than borrowing money for another, because you see MSD gives you $100, I think, for
yeah, I was just going to say we only drew $85 now. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had bought an 18. I had been given a card for $99, and I bought an $89 phone. And it is so bad. I mean, as a person who has never used an Android, and someone will hand me one, and I'm like, I don't even know how to answer a phone or call. I had to go back to Noel Leeming and ask them how to answer my phone, and it wasn't even something that you could intuitively figure out. It involved swiping. I was pushing the button, going answer. It was just so frustrating. And then I ended up resurrecting a different Android I had, which I had bought while I was in Hillmorton, a psychiatric hospital, for someone who had just arrived and had not been able to bring her phone with her. And at that stage, I was allowed supervised trips out, so I went out to buy a cell phone for her. But it was a click and collect, and by the time it had arrived, she had been discharged. So I had the spare Android. So I've been now thinking, well, maybe I can use that one. It's a Nokia, but I still can't bloody use it. I drop calls. I don't know how to answer calls. I can't tell where the call is coming from. I don't understand the text messages. I literally cannot learn the language of an Android. And to me, it's just because when MSD lends money to buy a phone, it's not a gift, so it means that I have to buy something that is of absolutely no use to me, and I'm already up to my eyeballs in debt. So I'd rather stay consistent with the phones that I know how to use, and that support. See, the thing is that they're incredibly intuitive to use, and because I have ADHD, and now because I've got extra memory problems with the trauma and stress and what's shown in my MRI, I'm just not in the state to learn a new technology, and on top of that, with I don't know if you use I think you use an iPhone as well. You have iCloud, which means that you can link your computer in and have reminders and stuff across devices, because I put everything in my calendar and my reminders because I don't have a memory anymore. And to me, it's just, I don't want to ramble, but it's definitely something.
So it sounds like you have made a call that obviously working income can't help other than $85, so you're going to look at other options. That's what you're saying.
So what I would do, and I've already inquired, and I can get a refurbished phone at one of those repaired kiosks in one of the malls. I'm tempted to take up that option, even though they're not a licensed reseller and dealer. I mean, you can't do things by the book necessarily when you don't have the money. But I just need a phone that's reliable, because it's really frightening to me to think that I might be getting really, really important phone calls that I've got no idea about. And then I go down as someone who's not available. I can't always be at home by my landline, and of course everyone who wants to contact me, you're the only one who knows to call me. So I mean, I text are fine, and it's often really a good idea to text me beforehand, because then at least I can get a heads up. And then if I don't get a call, I'll go, okay, well, it's probably not the other person's fault, it's probably my phone, and then I can do something about it.
Well, I mean, I can add this as a backup phone number, the motel extension. But I mean, I'd like to think if one of the providers was trying to call you about a property, that they're just not going to try twice and give up. So they would contact. Sometimes they contact us, and
well, see, this is the problem, Robin, and this is why I would. I mean, if Wins is, stopping from helping me buy a phone, or helping me pay off a phone that I can use, then that just puts me at a disadvantage that I think disadvantages Wins as well, really. I'm simply unable to learn new technology. I cannot use Androids. I've tried over and over again, and I've got my poor broken brain has far more important things to do than try to learn a completely alien technology that makes zero logical sense to me. And you can't even answer your phone, and you don't even know if you're getting a phone call or where it's coming from. it's just no use. A provider's not going to get in touch with me that way either. So, I just...
Well, yeah, they will check it. They'll check with us before they, if there was a potential offer on the cards, they should check with the case manager. So
yeah, and look, I think rather than a phone call, a phone call's fine, but a heads up with an email and a text would be a really, really good idea because...
I don't know if they'll do an email, but
Well, a text. If they don't want to do that, then that just means
I'm
that...
not sure.
Yeah, if they don't want to do that, then that's just sort of shooting everyone in their own foot, really.
I'd have to talk to. I don't know specifically what they do.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of way around people who don't have, a provider's ideal way of contacting them. There's got to be a bit of leeway for the recipient because we're often...
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would do everything they can to get hold of you, that's for sure, or anybody, yeah. They're ringing because they've got a potential offer, so they're not just going to, they would have put a lot of effort into meeting someone, so they...
I understand they'd be ringing to make a potential offer, but there's no point them ringing a phone that doesn't work.
No, so that's what I'm saying. I'm sure that that'd be quite fluid, and how they try and contact someone, because they will want to make sure they do everything they can to contact the person, because they've obviously had a match due to a property, to the property, so they're not just going to try one avenue. I'm quite sure.
Okay, that's good. I would just, if you were able to make a note, it would just be that please just send me a text first, because then I can be alert, because I've had no problem so far getting a text alerts as far as I'm aware, and then it just means, okay, that means that I am now going to focus on my phone, and if I get a call first, it means that I can try calling them, or I can call you and just say there seems to be maybe a communication problem here. Now sometimes it's just because they've been held up.
Sorry.
I discovered this because I'm trying to get a new laptop to them. They're not limb prop. I have to buy something that is absolutely not, because I have that calendar and my reminders, because
Sometimes they contact us, and
by simply unable to learn new technology. I can't live in their own foot, really.
I'd have to talk to. I don't know specifically what they do.
There's no...
They will want to make sure they do everything they can to contact the person, because
and be alert to the fact that it could be my phone, and it's just a more reliable method. Text, I have never had a problem with text. It's just phone calls.
Right. Well, there is an 0800 number to ring for everyone who's on the waiting list. I'll have to just check what it is, so you can ring them up and have that conversation. But I don't know that specific number. So if there's any changes to your housing needs, that's the number to call. But I apologise. I'll have to just check with someone what it is, and I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah. Okay. That would be quite good, because I had that conversation with Jessica at Comcare, but because I'm not on their client list, they couldn't obviously put a lot of effort into communicating with me, but I'm just trying to figure out who it is that I can have that direct link with, because I want to be as receptive as possible, and I don't want to have to rely on you to pass messages in between. I mean, I would always copy you into something, but I don't want to, I want to grab every opportunity as it emerges, because you don't want it filtered through too many middlemen, otherwise the ship can pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are very visible to all the social housing providers, because you've got the highest possible rating.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And then I had because of what's been going on with Liu, I've made a flurry of applications, and they've not been, I have not chosen ideal places, but I've just chosen places that I feel like I thought, I just feel like I need to get out of here really quickly. But then I kind of calmed down when I realised last night how exhausted I am, and I just realised that I've got to make a sensible decision. And so the sensible decision probably wasn't the applications to the 3 new people to take a room. But I did make a sensible decision getting back to Chris on the off chance his room was available again, because he and I have already been through that process, but he hasn't replied. And the thing is, I was talking to you last time that actually it wasn't such a bad idea it wasn't such a bad event that I missed out on that room, because there are a couple of red flags with him just being young, but what I didn't mention and what I realise is a big factor is that he's just got a new girlfriend, and because he's 29, he's very distracted with her, and he often says, "Oh, I'll reply to you soon, I've just arrived at my girlfriend's," and I'm like, I think you should, I think we need, if you need a flatmate really urgently and I need a room, I think, why don't you get your girlfriend to help you, you can't just go to your girlfriend's for the night and when you're looking for a room. And so to me that looks like actually a warning sign that I'm dealing with someone who might be distracted by, let's face it, sex instead of his responsibilities domestically. So maybe,
Oh my goodness.
you know what I mean.
And I mean, as we've had many conversations, you are required to be making some effort to find alternative accommodation, but I don't want you to be looking at places that are not safe or not suitable for you. So I definitely don't think
that's right. And I started to feel, look, I mean, this would really be only a stopgap for me, but then that would, that would be not fair to Chris, because Chris doesn't want to go through the search again later. And so what I do offer people who are clearly looking for people closer to their own age or at university or working professionals, what I say to them is, look, I'm not your target demographic. However, if you're in a position where you have a gap in rent and you need someone to fill that gap, and have some money coming in while you find your ideal tenant, I could be that person for you. And that's one of my thinking out of the box things, because it means that I get somewhere to move in immediately, they get money coming in, and then it just gives me a bit of a trip. Oh, bless you.
Sorry.
Bless you, you can't help sneezing. It's it often comes from the circulation, air conditioning, doesn't it? It just means that it also builds up just a wee track record where I can start building up some little references again.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but as you say, like I have to think quite laterally about it. And I don't want to live with people who are going to end up being completely incompatible with me or end up bullying me or whatever, because that happens a lot. And so I have to kind of judge the situation clearly. I don't know if I would want to live with other autistic people or not, but I feel like I need to live in a situation where people don't just go, yes, we accept people with neurodivergence, and then it just turns out that they don't, which is what I find happens quite a lot. Something that I just have read, what happens to me a lot is I'm interpreted as being demanding and challenging someone's authority. Not that I'm not ever demanding or challenging of someone's authority on purpose, but often when I'm accused of that, I'm like, that was not my intention at all, I'm just trying to clarify the question. And then I was on Facebook yesterday, because I have a lot of sort of support groups and for these kinds of things, and someone posted, why does everyone interpret everything I say as a challenge to their authority? I'm just not clear on the details and I'm trying to clarify them. And I'm like, my God, this happens to me all the time. So it seems to be quite a common thing, and that makes the social world a real minefield for us, because it makes us seem like real assholes. And people don't like assholes. And that's why we get picked on. And it's not necessarily that people are horrible, it's just that they're coding us as something that behaviourally it's not actually a code for a behaviour that they would not an accurate behaviour.
Clarification,
Yeah, we're seeking clarification because we don't pick up the nuances or coded language, and a lot of what people think is plain language is actually quite coded. And I did anthropology and linguistics, and I had an anthropology tutor, a lecturer, and she came from Germany, and she was quite fresh from Germany, and her English was excellent, but she didn't have New Zealand colloquialisms, and she explained to us in our first lecture, she said it's really interesting in New Zealand how people say see you later, and I was like, oh, New Zealand is so friendly, all these people I meet, they all want to see me later. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so to New Zealanders, people think see you later is literally saying goodbye. It's not.
Yeah.
How would someone else know that it means I will never see you again? And so and so I've often said to people that I feel like, you know, even though English is my only language and I'm very good at English, I feel like I'm speaking a foreign language in my own country.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And saying stupid things, and people forgive people from different countries whose English is clearly their second language. They forgive them, but they don't forgive people who are native speakers of English because they think we're just being assholes. So I need to vet very carefully, because having lost multiple homes over about 9 months, that's not advantageous for me to pick the first available home. And as you stress, it's not the first available home; it's the first available suitable home.
Yeah. No, I totally hear what you're saying. So, as I said, I've updated our record to show that an alternative number is the motel room, and I'll just, when I find out the 0800 number to the centralised housing unit, I'll message that to you. Okay,
that's cool, and then I can just give them a direct channel and just explain without you having to explain, because it was hard enough explaining to Patara. I mean, she understood everything I was saying, it was just hard for her to translate in an email to internally in notes. And what I need to do, because I'm still paying $60 a week by attachment order to courts, that is not something that's in MSD's power, because attachment orders are court orders. But I've got so many things coming at me that I've just not been able to. I know that I can apply to them, to court, to ask for a review of my financial means. And of course my financial means don't support a $60 a week repayment. That's ridiculous. That's something that even a person working full time would struggle with. And what it is my food money. And I do need to do an assessment, but I'm a little bit unsure, and I was trying to get some help through City Mission, but City Mission ended up saying, look, this is too complex for us, and they said try, I think it's called Kingsland or something, Kingdom Resources?
Kingdom Resources,
and I think that I'll try them, but see, the thing is that I'm just limping through this process by myself, trying to find people who can help me, because I'm not very good at advocating for myself, partly not because
I think you are.
No, well, see, the thing is, Robin, that I have a very strong voice. I can do the function of the advocacy, but it just pisses people off. Do you see? So self-advocacy isn't about having a strong voice. It's about having the social tools to have people be amenable to what you're saying and your needs. And Aspies are not famous for having those soft skills. So I kind of need a middleman. I can explain very strongly and very clearly what I need, but people get really turned off by me, and then I get shunned and people don't reply. And it's horrible, and I just end up crying a lot.
I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, Kingdom Resources may be a good option. So, because as you say, you're paying $60 a week to tenancy practice services, so it is significant.
It's way too much. I had an attachment order made against somebody through the Disputes Tribunal a long time ago. He was a real asshole. My dad had died and left me his car. and I don't drive, and so I wanted to sell the car, and the boyfriend of the person my dad had been living with before he had to go into basically hospice level care had really trusted this guy, and so this guy offered to sell the car for me on my behalf, and he didn't. And so I went to the disputes tribunal, and I was awarded the money, and he wouldn't pay it. So we got an attachment order on his wages, and I nominated $60. Now he worked full time, and he worked a reasonably high-paying job, but I nominated $60 because I thought that's probably a big enough chunk of his disposable income that more than that's going to make life really difficult for him. And I don't, even though he was a crook, I just didn't feel that making life that difficult for somebody was morally
very generous
correct.
of you, but yeah.
Thank you. And I'm not earning, and I have probably a quarter of his income. And a quarter of his income doesn't mean a quarter of his disposable income. It means that most of my money is going towards living expenses, and $60 a week is literally my food money.
Yeah. Well, do try Kingdom Resources. I mean, they are pretty busy, but I think probably the sooner that you contact them, the better. And see how they're placed. Another organisation is Delta Community Trust. They do budgeting. Well, there's quite a few.
Yeah, because it's not budgeting advice I need. I don't have
financial management, or but they just have the when they ring those third parties, like in this case the tenancy services or the courts, they tend to have the people will listen a bit better than if it was just you and I trying to advocate for themselves.
That's exactly right. I need someone who's going to have respect. Now, because a lot of people, the Ministry of Justice, I can tell you, does not obey the law, and it doesn't even obey its own laws. And that's absolutely true. They don't. They don't. And so I can spout the law to them, but what am I going to do about it? They just ignore me. I'm just one of those little helicopters that King Kong bats away as he's on the Empire State Building. The helicopters may be in the right, but they don't have any power. So, so that's the problem. Like, being in the right doesn't mean that you get what you deserve. It just means that you've got the privilege of knowing that you're correct while you're being abused by gigantic. I mean, the Ministry of Justice is the least just place in the bloody world. They should have done a financial assessment on me anyway, because they know that I don't work. They shouldn't have.
Well, I mean, have you? Okay. Well, look, I do need to go, Caitlin. But if you don't feel confident going there direct, I would definitely contact the King Resources to see how they're playing.
Yeah, I will, and I can ring Ministry of Justice itself. I know you have to go. Unfortunately, the thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, obviously getting some help to get things moved into storage. Maybe we can make another appointment to talk about that, because I really do need help, and it would even just be like a station wagon taxi, as I say. And I think we mentioned it, and I think you said it was something you needed to pass by your boss, and I believe that's Siobhan, and it would just be getting like a taxi chit or something. And
no, we don't do. We've got the facility to have taxi chits. So you've got your property in two different places. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're wanting to put them all in one. Is that right?
I am, but that's not what I want at this stage. What I want at this stage is to move the excess things out of my motel room into one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that I've got excess things in here is because one of the people who locked me out of my home, the person who smoked a lot of meth and was running a prostitution business from her home, and locked me out, and then got a trespass order against me when I was trying to get my stuff back, because the police told me it was a civil matter when it wasn't. It was a criminal matter. So she got a trespass order against me, claiming that I was harassing her when I wasn't harassing her. I was just trying to get my possessions back. And so by the time I got my possessions back, and it was only about half of them, and it wasn't my denture, and it wasn't a whole lot of other really valuable things, it was dumped on me when I was in emergency housing. She tried to dump it on me when I was in the backpackers, and so I've had a little bit of help getting it to storage, but but people don't. I've just got to beg and pick and choose and beg and take what's available to me. And Liu was storing things in his garage because he wanted it out of my room, but I've taken it out of my garage because Liu is being extremely difficult out of the garage. And I just really want, what I want to have here is not a whole bunch of random stuff that filled a bedroom. I just want a suitcase and a backpack, really.
Okay, so just in brief then, Lou was open to him storing the stuff in the garage, and he did do that, but for some reason...
No. Liu insisted that I put things in the garage, and then because he's been very abusive, he tells me I don't want the stuff in my garage. So he will keep changing his mind, and he won't put anything on the record. So what I did to bypass the problem, I just took everything out and put it back in my room, because I'm not letting him pick fights with me and denying that he said what he said. He demanded.
So your room is very cluttered then, and lots of stuff in there, is it?
Yeah, and it's not a health and safety risk. Liu claims it is, but it isn't. And he took a photo of my room when I had literally moved things into a particular walkway to clear space for him to bring up a deck chair for me, because he wouldn't put a sofa in my room, which is fair enough because they're heavy and it's upstairs.
Right.
So
I think I'll need to talk to Lou and come back to you, because and then you might. I mean, how much stuff are you talking about? Like a trailer load, or?
No, as I say, a station wagon.
I beg your pardon?
A station wagon, and you can get station wagon taxis.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to Lou and come back to you.
You can talk to Liu, but he's a liar, and I've got him on record lying to me, and he's so you can talk to him, but he's not going to tell you the truth. And I've already made a police complaint about him, and I've told police that there are, even though I haven't been able to, because I was on the hold waiting for wins yesterday, I wasn't able to push record on his threat to kick me out because
He never mentioned that to me at all.
What's that?
He's never mentioned.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't mention that, you see, because he's not allowed to. It's illegal. He's abusing me. He's threatening me with things that are not my fault. Because I borrowed a plunger from Cayman over the weekend, because I live up a flight of steps and there are only two apartments.
Okay, I do have to go now, so I will talk to Lou.
Okay, but I'm just
Right.
making it very clear on the record that Liu will lie to you, and what's on the record is on the record. He is not allowed to keep threatening to kick me out. It is very, very hazardous to my health, and it's breaking the law, and he needs to be reviewed as potentially.
Well, it's working income whether we extend the motel or not, but the moteliers have got a private business, and they if they don't want to guest here, that's totally within their rights.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah. Robin, you need
we'll agree to disagree.
Robin, you need to understand that there are rules. Okay, that's proof that Robin is not aware that there are rules that the motelier has to follow. Okay.
Okay, so then I rang back and I leave a voice message for her. So something that I have explained before, but I'll explain now, is that although I'm allowed, according to, I mean, this is not legal, but the draconian rules imposed on me by Angela Talbot are that I can contact Robin and only Robin, and the only way that I can contact Robin is by phone, but Robin never answers the phone, and I believe that she's blocked me over text message, because I can't get any text messages through, which is one sign, and the other sign is that it always goes directly to voicemail. So all I can do is leave her voicemails and not interact with her. And then if I try to ring her on her landline, it says she never answers that either. And then at work, and then it says leave a message, but there's no message function. So I'm literally just being put in a it's just an illogical situation. So, and I've sent Robin and a lot of people a lot of emails about what's been going on. Now, clearly Robin is not reading them. I don't know if my emails are just getting a system sort of mass delete, or if people are just instructed not to read them, or simply they're shirking their job. But I'm sending them to all points because their choice to not read my emails is on the record, and that just shows the criminal. I mean, these are crimes, and I've listed the crimes, and I've emailed the crimes, the specific crimes, to many people, and they never reply to me. So I don't think I'm going to get anything from Ministry of Justice. The complaints team, I doubt, is going to know the law. I've had, I had what seemed to be a very promising experience with client experience. But they don't seem to understand either that it's not about asking nicely for things, it's about having my legislated rights met by people who are legally obliged to do work as defined in their job description. So I can't see that going internal is going to work, because either no one knows the law or they don't care, and they're in a position to not care. So among all the other things going on in my life, including, you can see this clear threat to even my precarious housing, beyond the natural and lawful precariousness of it as emergency housing, Robin believing that Liu has every right to end a tenancy on any whim that he wants to. Sorry, not a tenancy, a residency on any terms he wants. It's absolutely bullshit. And it's very, very frightening. So here I leave her another message. And I've told her this a million times. And I've told Shamila Grant, who's the housing general manager of housing. I've gone further up. I've gone to Angela Talbot, through Sheldon Geary, and I just get ignored every step of the way. So what I do is, as I've said, I don't expect responses, because I know what these people are like. But if there were a proper external review, they can see that ignoring a client when she's asking for her rights to be met, when she's showing how desperate and ill and troubled she is, and how Integrated Services is acting in the opposite way that Integrated Services is supposed to act, not just by simply neglecting their job, but by actively abusing the person in the way that they are supposed to protect us from. It just shows that the lack of responses I'm getting are criminal acts. So I follow up with a voicemail because I'm just trying to complete what Robin would not hear.
Please leave a message and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Thanks for calling.
At the tone, record your message. Hi Robin, I know you don't want to talk about it. I recorded our phone call and I'm recording this message as well. I have told you, and you need to understand this as an ISCM, that moteliers cannot kick people out for any reason. Now, you may not be an expert in the law, but you need to be aware as an ISCM, because I've seen your job description of all the products and services in MSD and outside of MSD. Now, I have shown you the contract that housing providers must sign with MSD, and that contract is legally binding, and it insists that the provider complies with certain rules set by MSD, or they may not pass the test. Liu is breaking those rules all over the show. It is not up to him to kick me out. He can only kick me out if there is a good reason. He cannot make up any rules he likes, and he especially cannot make up ridiculous rules such as if his bad plumbing floods the toilet and he won't give me a plunger, that I'm not sticking my arm down the toilet for the third time to pull out the blockage, because he won't let me have a plunger, and that's when he threatened to kick me out. Okay, Robin, you need to understand. I have sent you this already. You have denied to me, which is an outrageous, that MSD, that the providers have a contract with MSD. Of course they have a contract. It is your job to know this. And not only that, there is something called common law, and that is just basically
somewhere between natural justice and just basic sort of legislated rights, such as in the Bill of Rights Act and other human rights acts. So as a motelier, even if this was a private business that was not contracted to MSD, he still can't make his own ridiculous rules. He has to stay within the law and within contract law and within reason. He is not allowed to to criminally offend against his clients. This is atrocious, Robin. If you don't accept this, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. This is just an outrageous situation. Please understand your job. Yeah, so that's it. And I'm going to probably match this up. I'm not prepared to do it at the moment, but I've made as I've said, I don't know. She's just totally away with the fairies. I just don't know. I mean, for all I know, look, I have a cognitive injury, but that's, as I keep repeating and no one acknowledged, that is shown in an MRI. It's shown in an MRI. I have an overgrowth of white matter that's seen in people in their 70s. And as I've said, it's not psychiatric, it is physical, and physical symptoms include loss of balance. Okay, so I fell up my stairs the other day, and you can't really see it now, but it was very painful. It was more than a scrape. I landed really heavily, and there's in a very abrasive mat. Luckily, I fell up the stairs, but it just goes to show that that they're not just playing dumb, because if this were to go into court, a judge or a lawyer, a prosecutor, would say to Robin or whomever would be the defendant, because individuals can be defendants. They're not, if they're acting outside the bounds of their job, they're acting as individuals. They're not acting as they're not acting as MSD. So it wouldn't be a complaint against MSD necessarily. It would be a complaint against individuals. Although I could take a complaint against MSD as well. Of course, like the director. But which is obviously the same thing as basically a chief executive in the private sector. What they would ask, if you are saying that Caitlin is capable of doing all of these things by herself and that she is not entitled to this and not entitled to that, then can you explain why you've put her at the top level of needs for social housing, which isn't just urgency, it's also a special kind of need where she has very high needs because of her health. But those two things are incongruous. And you wouldn't even need to cite the fact that MSD administers disability rights laws and that kind of thing, and you wouldn't even need to cite the job description. You would just need to cite the self-contradiction of the people involved, which shows not just ignorant negligence, and in the Crimes Act that's not a defence, because, as I've said before, crimes are distinguished from civil offences mostly by mens rea, not by the tort. So the difference between civil harassment and criminal harassment is, for example, civil harassment is about the tort. It doesn't matter about the intention or the awareness of the harasser. It's just that the person needs the harm to stop. Criminal harassment is when the offender is either aware of the effect on their victim or does it deliberately. And when people self-contradict in this way, that shows criminality. So it just, none of this makes any sense, and I'm spending my entire life fighting MSD just like this, over and over and over again, just like stuck record. And Robin does not remember a lot of the things that I've told her. And my mother, when she spoke to Robin, and my mother's, as I've said elsewhere, I'm just trying to make this a bit of a summary. It's not going to be a short summary, but it's going to be short compared to the months of agony of abuse by MSD and Liu living in this emergency housing since 6 December, and it's now in April. I can't remember the exact date. That I'm spending my whole life just trying to get my basic rights from these people, and I can't recover. I can't do any other work. I can't tidy up my place. Robin she's not representing the law when she says, no, we don't help you move your things. That's not true. It's just not true. There's a lot of discretionary power in the ISCM role, and it's all about making things as advantageous as possible for the client to move forward in the world. It's not about gatekeeping their rights. She's not a regular case manager, she's an integrated services case manager. You need to think laterally and pull out all the stops to make the client capable of living independently and getting out of emergency housing, and I can't do that, and I'm falling apart. And I'm starting to, I very strongly resisted the phone calls only because Robin is not keeping records, and I think that there's something wrong with her memory. And as a person who has a cognitive injury that affects her memory, and it's all part of that thing that's making, it's all part of this white matter thing that's making me fall over, and well, not always fall over, but it's increasing right when I'm losing balance and losing my footing, and I've just, I have physical symptoms. And this stuff can turn into Parkinson's and that kind of thing if it's just left to go wild. So as a person who's got her own cognitive problems, I'm really wondering if Robin does, because I just end up explaining the same thing to her over and over again. And I don't know if it's her being incompetent, her being negligent, her being abusive, or her just simply having an atrocious memory that could just be, memories deteriorate. She may have an issue. Sometimes I wonder if she's got a drinking problem. I don't know, but whatever's going on with Robin, it can't be put on me. I've got my own fucking stuff to do. I need a competent ISCM, and I have complained about her, and everyone refers me back to her, and that is illegal. You cannot refer the person back to their person they're complaining about. You have to take up the complaint and investigate. MSD is breaking the fucking law. So I had a really good conversation with Patera. I have made a police report, and I've had a cluster of police reports because there's a whole cluster of problems. Unfortunately, crimes against the person, and I'm also caught up in the net of general crimes committed in this motel by Liu, because there's a lot of I haven't wanted to say this really, been very open about it before, and I haven't been that open with it in my police reports, is that there's a very strong gang presence here. There's a lot of covert gang affiliates here, and I've been threatened, and it's quite scary, and I've been assaulted, and there are some people who cause such trouble that they do move on, but I don't think it's Liu doing it. I think it's MSD, and I do complain to MSD, but I don't get any response back, and so I just get the feeling that they will keep their asses clean, but they're not going to do anything to make my life better, and so talking to Atera was really good, because she said, and I find some call centre people much more knowledgeable than case managers. I find that the same thing with tenancy services. The tenancy services personnel are really knowledgeable, whereas tenancy tribunal staff don't know fuck about shit when it comes to the law. Now those are actually those two people come from two completely different ministries, weirdly enough, but it's the same sort of situation where the upstairs downstairs kind of situation where the people above are really quite ignorant about what the reality is, whereas it's the same thing with St John Ambulance. Like, the AMBOs are generally very well trained in patient rights, whereas management have no bloody idea. It's one of those sort of situations. And Robin isn't a manager, but she's got power she's got a lot of power over me, and she's going away to talk to Liu. She's done that before. Why? I'm not. What do you do to someone that you've repeatedly told Liu is lying, and I've got proof? And even if I didn't have proof, I am disclosing to my ISCM abuse. And she's just like, well, I'll talk to Liu. It's like, okay, yeah, okay. So if a child discloses, sexual abuse at home, just go and talk to the parent. Well, the parent says they're not doing it, so stay where you are. It's so fucking negligent. I am not the one with the power here. And it needs to be investigated. She doesn't need to take my word for it. She can investigate it. She can say, okay, well, this is concerning. If it's true, can we look into this? She can't just say, well, I'll ask Liu, because she'll just come back, as she has done before, and says, well, Liu says this. And I'm like, I told you he's a liar, so don't fucking give me that shit, basically. So I don't know what to respond to Robin when she comes back, but I just said, I guess I'll just say, well, I'm sorry, but he says, she says it's not, that's not, that has very little value under the Evidence Act. And if this has to go to court, then the Evidence Act will not take Liu's denial of what I've got on record. And the fact that she thinks that he's not she still just thinks that Liu is they're not contracted. They are private businesses, but they're not entirely, now that they're in partnership with government. And when that goes very wrong, that's what cronyism is. People think cronyism is something that happens in capitalism. No, cronyism is the devil spawn of government and private business, capitalism. And so he is no longer merely a private business. He's a hybrid. And if he doesn't want to have a contract, he doesn't want to honour his contract with a government ministry, then he has to go back to being a wholly private business. At the moment, he's not a completely private business. He's in a hybrid. He gets his money from MSD, not from paying, not from user pays. So he's not really a private business. Not wholly, and not in essence. And so what Patera said to me was, she was so good. I just love a person who doesn't do the whole victim blaming thing or skepticism thing where she's just like, I need to judge myself. You know, victims keep getting abused when every single person they go to for help wants to make up their own mind about the situation. Sometimes you've just got to accept that the victim is in a desperate situation, and some people might lie. Tiara made it clear that she had, and she told me a number of reasons that she had judged me truthful. She was very clear about what those reasons were. She seems to be very well trained and very receptive to her job and her obligations. She had judged me truthful correctly, and she gave me very good advice, and she was completely empathetic. She was completely on my side. She didn't say, oh, maybe he didn't mean it like that, because that's the catch cry of basically the abusive apologetic. So abusers never have to make excuses for themselves. They never even have to defend themselves, you see, let alone defend themselves successfully. They never even get challenged. And so it was Patera saying, sounds like he needs to have his contract reviewed. Robin doesn't even know he has a contract, and that he needs to be investigated, and what he's doing to me is completely unacceptable, and that he is legitimately damaging my health. She was the one who raised the fact that that effectively requiring me to stick my arm down the toilet to remove a blockage so it doesn't flood his whole apartment is a health and safety issue. And then I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. And I've been in that situation with Homewood, you know, a similar situation with Homewood, where they've exposed me to basically my own, you know, my own, you know, plumbing products which belong in the plumbing, not up my arm or in the ear, because human shit is toxic to humans. We're one of the only animal species whose shit is toxic to ourselves. I've had C. diff in hospital. That was not my shit, it's someone else's shit. It's really, really, really bad. I could get very sick. He took the plunger away for no reason, then it was my idea. And then over text message, when I recorded what he had done, he says, oh, I just didn't want it in public where it was messy. So firstly, it's not in public. There are only 2 people, I'll show you, there's only 2 bloody people who live up this step, and it's not the public, and both she and I agreed that we needed it. Okay? Here, these are the steps. Room 4, hot water cupboard, here. And because I didn't feel comfortable taking 2 plunges, I said we can share it, and I popped it in here so the head was popping out here and it was along there. Now, it was visible, which is not bad, but it's not a public space. This is a private space between 2 private. I mean, where I'm standing right now is not technically private, it's technically public. Well, it's technically part of the motel, but it's not affecting members of the public, and it's not affecting any other people. And honestly, he's a fucking liar too. I had my recycling bin down there once, and I've recorded this. I had my recycling bin there, and I was waiting because I was going to take it downstairs, and because I had a few things to take downstairs, I wanted to put something outside so I didn't have to keep going in and out. It's a very heavy door, so it's better just to move things out and in. And he told me, and I have this on record, he told me, don't block the fire exit. The fire exit? Hello? He's telling me that he thinks that is the fire exit. He's telling me that he thinks, if he doesn't know where the hot water cupboard is in his own motel, he's not competent. I don't think he's competent, but he knows where his hot water cylinder is. And do you know, if that were a fire exit, I think you'd be better dying in a fire, because look where it goes to. You'd go out onto a shingled roof and then land on, there's just basically a thin sliver of, you know, I will film it later if necessary, but you basically got a fence with a thin walkway that no one uses, except to go out and retrieve things that have fallen off your windowsill like I've done, and there's a big, like, it looks like a kind of a water tank or something underneath. You're more likely to injure yourself falling on that or all the debris that's out there, and you come up against the bloody fence of the next motel, which you have to scale. I'm sorry, that is not a fucking fire exit. He's a fucking liar. He's a fucking liar. He's a toxic piece of shit. And Robin is one of those people who, one of the screeds of people who just let abuse happen because they want to go and get this real story from the abuser, and that's why we end up in these situations. And I'm in a full trigger, like I've got electric shocks going all through my body, and as I've said in the past, but I haven't said here, like, well, it judges my vision. This is one of the things. This is physical. It's not psychiatric. You can see it's not psychiatric. I'm talking through it, but I was really, really frightened that it was signs of an impending stroke, and I said that to my GP, and she says, don't worry, it's got nothing to do with a stroke, it's just a very well-known symptom of severe stress. It's not nice, but it's not a sign of a stroke. But it just shows that this is not a psychiatric problem, this is a physical problem, and that these people are causing me more. The fact that this is not a sign of an impending stroke does not mean that the stress that is causing it is not doing me immense harm. I have a heightened stroke risk. MSD knows this. They are committing crimes of abuse and negligence against a vulnerable adult, and I am categorised as a vulnerable adult because you can see the definition in the Crimes Act. So I'm not including all of the evidence here. I've just recorded that and I've just explained around it. But one thing I am going to do, as Patera said, is just make sure that you always have your phone with you, always record every interaction. If you can lead him to talking about the things that he denies on the record, where he will restate again what he said to me, what he says to me only in private, like abusers do, then that's, like, and I don't think that's entrapment, because I'm not inducing him to abuse me. I'm just trying to get him on the record repeating things that he's done to me, and saying them to me in what he thinks is privacy. And I have done that with people in the past. It's not entrapment. I'm not. It's not like when like police people can go undercover and gain the trust of drug dealers. But entrapment is when you ask someone to procure drugs for you when they ordinarily wouldn't do that. But it's not if you're just recording, doing a drug deal with someone who's offering you drugs. That's not entrapment. So it's not like I'd go down there and pick a fight with you and then blame him for reacting negatively to what would be abuse on my part. So what Patera is saying is just see if you can lead him back to the conversation, but I've made it clear to you that I'm having nothing to do with him any further. And the fact is that having any contact with him at all has a very, 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 very awful negative impact on me, and it makes me feel unsafe in my home, which is a big part of my trauma. So I'm actually not going to interact with Leo any further, but what I do have, and as I did say to Patera, I did start recording things when I started to realise that the abuse that I was getting from him was abuse, and it wasn't just the language barrier, and it wasn't just misunderstandings. And the fact of the matter is, it is never okay to make personal comments about clients, and he made a personal comment to me the first day I moved in. Maybe the third day I moved in the office, which was, I find you really hard to read, and he constantly compares me to other people, and then he positively compares me to the person who was previously in this apartment. He says, you're just like her, and then he says I'm like the children, and then he says I never listen, and then he says I won't take any advice. And what he means by that is that I won't let him dictate to me who I am, what I'm thinking, what I do in my private life. He has no right to make personal comments about me. He makes personal comments about me all the fucking time, and they are almost always very nasty and very incorrect, and he will not listen to me. And when I try to get a word in edgewise, he tells me that I will never listen. He knows that's not true. And so it took me a really, really long time to realise that Liu does not believe what he says to me. He doesn't believe those things about me. And I belong to a number of support groups, as I said to Robin, and one of them is about abuse and recovering from it, including the heartbreak, because it can be very, very heartbreaking. Because one of the abuse support groups is about being no contact, and there was deep grief in that, and that applies to me and my mother. Even though I'm not addicted to her, and I don't struggle with no contact except for a sense of sort of guilt and sort of sympathy for her. But I'm now going to have to go no contact with Liu in the best way that I can, which is to still live here but just have nothing to do with him. And I've sent him a text message basically saying, don't you ever knock on my door without heads up, and it has to be for a good reason, because what he'll do, and this is what Jace did at Papanui Court Motel as well, is that I will send something, because I keep records, and records any honest person in a relationship of whatever sort, especially something that's an official relationship where agreements are involved. Any honest person has always thanked me for keeping records, because it's a job, and it means that we have both got something to refer back to. The only people who don't want things on the record are those who don't want to be exposed doing illegal things. So when I text Liu or email him, he will never reply. Sometimes he won't respond at all, or if next time I go down to the office for something else, he'll just gaslight me. Now I know it's gaslighting, going, what was that email about? What do you mean? He just plays dumb, and now I know it's probably not even that he doesn't read his emails like he says he doesn't, and it's probably not that he doesn't understand written English. I think he does. He just plays down like, what do you mean by the email? And it's like, well, you didn't respond to it 3 days ago, so never mind, I don't want to talk about it now. But he always just frowns at me like he's trying to shame me. He's a fucking gaslighter. I can't believe I missed it. And then otherwise he'll come up to my room. And yesterday I was reporting something. It was marijuana smoke, basically, that was affecting me. And it was a hot day, so I had my windows open, and I'm not funny about people smoking marijuana, but I don't want to be around it because I'm on 5 fucking million meds, and what people don't realise is that natural doesn't contain chemicals, and chemicals are neither bad nor good, but chemicals and medications interact with each other, and I'm on so much fucking medication. See, I've just filled my box today while I've been recording that. I don't know, I don't take any illicit drugs because I don't know what they're gonna interact with. I've got enough fucking problems without, secondhand. I don't want to get fucking high, and it's consistent enough that I can get room stoned, and you end up being in a bit of a dilemma where do I shut the windows now, and then I'm like hotboxing, or do I keep them open and try and like flush it out? Like, I'm not being a goody two shoes. It's just that I can't risk it, and also like I fucking hate being stoned, and I have a very low tolerance, so I can get stoned very, very easily, and it makes me really paranoid, and I do not need paranoia at this stage in my life. I am trying to hold it together as it is. So anyway, at this stage I am rambling, and sue me. But I'm just trying to give an example of what the evidence that I'm going to be showing when I get it together, as Patera said I should do, and make a complaint. Now, we didn't get to the point where we figure out where I put that complaint, but I expect I'm going to try it in a formal avenue to info at MSD. They didn't respond to my complaint. They have to. I don't have to fill out their form to make a complaint. They have to respond to the complaint in any form, but I'm going to do it by the book, just so there's no fucking excuses. And this is going to be part of it, so no fucking excuses, and if you don't read it, it's your problem. I'm allowed to make a complaint in whatever form suits me. I don't have to do it in writing, and considering the problems that are occurring are not happening in writing by their very nature, this is why I'm doing it in this form. I will probably not be capable of writing a blurb about it, but I expect the evidence and the emails that I've sending evidence to MSD staff who ignore them should be enough of a written format for someone to review. Now, I'll stop that there. I've got a lot to do. I still want to get my room sorted out, and I need to look at legislation. I need to order legislation. I can't even get, I need to make a complaint about judges. Again, just completely ghosting my rights, breaking their own laws. They ordered a fitness assessment trial test that they did not follow the procedure for. They don't, and it's illegally binding. Once you start the process, you have to complete it, and it involves a full-scale psychiatric or psychological assessment with a report written. I was offered 30 minutes to talk to a liaison mental health nurse before a hearing, and I said no. And then I went down on the record as having refused the assessment. And then the liaison nurse said she is aware of her rights, so she doesn't need to go through it. And it's like, no, I don't have that right. If it's court ordered, I have to undergo it. It's just outrageous how ignorant court is, and I'm not walking, I'm not even bothering. I have no capacity to prepare for whatever the fuck it is that I'm going to. And I'm going to make it very clear when I turn up on I thought it was the 5th of March, but Robin said that was a Sunday, so it'd be like the 6th or something like that, but it's not a long way away. I've made it clear to police, PPS, and to the registry that I'm not, whatever that is, I'll turn up, but I'm not going to be addressing anything that it's supposed to be for. I don't even know what it's for, and I'm not lifting a finger to find out. It's not my job. I'm going to be there purely just to say, give me my human rights. I'm going to be making, and I said I'm going to be making a complaint about the judges, and so that's what I'm going to be spending my energy on, not preparing for a fucking kangaroo court. I'm going to be preparing by making a complaint about the judges, and that's what I have to put my energy in. But ISCM, you would think, is just basically upside down world where what their job description is, they just do the opposite. So they are cutting me off at the knees at every fucking opportunity. And I don't see how not giving me just enough time to get through that court date here without jumping through hoops, I don't see how on earth that services any of their own interests. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't understand. But if I end up being on home detention or in prison or in custody somewhere, What are they going to do? Like, it's not ideal for them to have all my stuff here. What are they going to do? And they can't throw it out. Like, they're going to have to put it in storage for me. Then they'll have to fucking pay for storage. So anyway, that's enough at an hour and a half. And I don't feel any shame for taking an hour and a half. This is your responsibility to listen to. And if you don't, I've tried every single fucking other way. And this is for you to listen to. So it's going to go to info@MSD first, I think.